To the Gainline Wales Online's daily rugby debate show. I'm Ben James. I'm joined by Simon Thomas and Andy Howell. Wales's World Cup is finally over after 7 weeks, 7 matches. They finished fourth. Warren Gatland's reign is also over. Let's pick apart the bones. It wasn't the end that Warren Gatland would have wanted, was it?
No.
40-17 defeat New Zealand.
My World Cup fever has been replaced by World Cup lurgy, so I apologise to the viewers. I'll try not to breathe on these two. Yeah, I mean, it's not the way you wanted Warren Gatland's reign to end, but you kind of feared it was going to happen. You looked at the injury-ravaged nature of the Welsh team. I think beforehand I said 45-10. I think, Ben, you were closer. You went something very similar.
42-26.
It's ended up 40-17, and it could have been worse, really. You know, but in fairness to Wales, they stuck at it. They were brave, and they actually showed probably a little bit more than attack than they have in other games. But we'll come on to it in a minute. But really, the defence, Andy, wasn't great, was it?
It wasn't, was it? You know, loads of missed tackles today in the tournament. Overall, Wales have missed 163 tackles. 9 of those were against Uruguay. So when you look at the other matches, it averages about 22.
Well, it's three games, including today. They missed 34 tackles today. That's the third time in this tournament they've missed more than 30 again, and that's not what you become used to from Sean Edwards' sides.
You know what a fickle world it is. Social media and the rest is. Sean Edwards is leaving his position as defence, so the coach a few months ago after the Six Nations, people hailing him, got to try and keep him on board. You know, based on these stats at World Cup, people would be calling for him to be sacked if he was staying on, though he has done a great job. Today, you know, the problem is Wales against New Zealand is New Zealand not a team that suit Wales, because New Zealand got so much pace, so much skill, they're running angles, and Wales struggle to contain them to get a tempo of the game. Wales tried hard, wasn't an embarrassing defeat by despite the scoreline, because Wales actually did offer some things with the ball.
I looked at they conceded 6 tries, and I sort of kind of went through them, and you could see there were certain key elements that were issues. Part of it, you have to take your hat off to the All Blacks. Their offloading was fantastic. If you look at the very first try, Matt Brody Retallick, wonderful one-handed offload after an offload previously to that to Mwanga. They were very incisive. But you did kind of get the feeling that virtually every time they came into the Welsh 22, they were going to score a try. Ben Smith scored 1 try, where there were 5 Welshmen around him. Brooke tackles. Wales missed key tackles, and what they were also doing, they were kind of over chasing, coming across, trying too hard to compensate, and then people were coming, and the Kiwis were then coming back against the grain.
Wales were clearly worried about New Zealand on the outside edges, so they were going across fields to that, but New Zealand were so clever, and they were hitting them on the cutback.
Yeah. Such a lovely mix. I mean, if you look at the Ben Smith's second try, it was a great cut-out pass for Aaron Smith. You know what's coming against New Zealand. They're going to stretch you and test you attack-wise. And when you're up against them, as England showed, to beat them, your defensive game's going to be right on the top, and it wasn't with
What
Wales.
was disappointing for me as well was the amount of success they had with offloads off 10. So Wales would fly up out the line, and they cut off all the passing options, but then the first up tackler would sort of snare Richie Mwanga, but then all the Wales defenders would switch off and there'd be an offload because they just sort of turned their backs. Is
that, though, when New Zealand copied England in the warm-up match against Wales at Twickenham? Because that's the first time we saw Wales' defence breach like that, and then Australia did it in the World Cup, though Wales hang on to win that match. So is that something these coaches have noticed now, that Wales are vulnerable in that area, and the cutbacks and good angles of running and great timing of passes?
It was one of the tries, I think it was when Bowden Barrett stepped inside a wrong-footed Dylan Lewis. If you look at the build-up to that, it was quite basic. Everyone was lined up. It looked like everything was covered. And it took just one switch pass from Aaron Smith, and 3 defenders were taken out of the game. They were exposed a bit defensively. I mean, you know, you're up against a very good side attack-wise, but it was disappointing. I mean, Gatland himself, afterwards, Warren Gatland, called it soft, and he said he was tired. And you can understand the tiredness. It's been a long campaign for a lot of those boys. And I must admit, I think they scored after 41 minutes, try number 5. And we were fearing a real landslide. So, hats off to Wales for showing a bit of guts and credit. And the best way to defend against New Zealand is to be on the attack, because you're keeping the ball.
That's what England did.
Yeah, exactly. And Wales looked good with the ball and attack. It's just that every time it came back into our half, you thought, here we go. It was just, there was a sense of inevitability about those All Blacks tries.
Do you think that is psychological, though? Because Wales haven't beaten them for so long? Is it that
I would have liked
us in that grip?
I'd loved to have seen in the Gatland era, the Gatland's best team at their peak playing against New Zealand.
We did see it in
the World Cup. In the World Cup, and we've not really seen that. And that's 2 successive World Cups now. You have to say, Wales' chances have been fundamentally undermined by injury issues. A number of people have asked me on social media.
There's a question.
That's the question.
So, a question from Phil: after consecutive World Cups have seen Wales' squad fall apart with injuries, has Gatland badly prepared the squad? England have no injuries.
I mean, if you look at someone like Liam Williams was told that he was involved in a training ground accident, freak. I mean, there are going to think. Is it down to Wales' training? What's it down to, Ant?
Most of Wales' injuries are through bumps, aren't they? Faletau got injured in training. Anscombe got injured in a game against England. Liam Williams. Now in a match, Thomas Francis in a match making a tackle. It's a collision sport.
George Knowles' hamstring pops, Navidi's hamstring pops.
I don't think that's anything to do with the training, is it? It's just unfortunate and bad luck, isn't it?
We don't know, really, do we? But it does seem like 2 World Cups in a row. It's really, really cost us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Is maybe the more disappointing thing is that we thought we'd built the depth from 2015 and then that's been probably exposed in parts in this tournament when we talked about how good the depth was.
Yeah, I mean in fairness, despite those losses, Wales are still within 1 score of reaching the final, so the depth is better. I think it's better than it was, but clearly once you take out Faletau, Navidi, Anscombe, you take out Liam Williams, North gets injured, Francis gets injured, you had lost Ellis Jenkins already, there's no Rhys Webb, then there's a lot of talented players there who if you'd put into that semi-final environment, I think it would have been a different scoreline. And it has to be said that of all the genuine contenders for the World Cup crown, we have suffered by far the most in terms of injuries. So, unfortunate, I don't know, people have got their own theories about it, but the bottom line is it hurt us.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Just to remind you, if you are tuning in, this is the Game Line, Wales Online's daily rugby debate show. Do get your questions and your comments coming in for these two, and they'll answer as many as they can. Envis asks, is this game an indicator of why Wales don't play an open style of play? They look good in flashes, but the defensive structure tends to go to pot. They did show a lot of intent in attack. Obviously, Rhys Patchell started at fly half, showed some good touches.
They were better round, weren't they?
Yeah, but I think he's got a valid point there. That is Wales' problem. When they are extremely runnable, when things break down, that's why they got to play such a structured game, because Wales lack pace. That's their bottom line. So it's hard to then compensate. They like some football teams who are good on a counter-attack and win 1-0, get a game against a run of play, but if that football team pushes on and all, they can be exposed themselves.
I think the point is that there's probably no team more proficient in World Rugby at turning defence into attack in an instant than New Zealand. Yeah. So if you are playing a slightly more ambitious, more adventurous game, as Wales did look to play, keeping the ball in hand, you are going to make mistakes. There's going to be turnovers and they will kill you. But the thing that they will take you apart as a result. But what the worry was that in the past Wales' scramble defence in those kind of situations has been good, and it just felt to me that some of the tries we conceded, it was too easy.
But that scramble defence mainly has been against European nations, which perhaps
we've done it against Australia as well, and we've done it against South Africa in recent times. I just thought that there was a tiredness in defence, wasn't there?
Yeah, the other thing is you're at a World Cup and everybody it's only time in international rugby. It's a level playing field when the Northern Hemisphere are playing against the Southern Hemisphere. So everyone's at the top of their game. So it's a bit different playing South Africa or Australia in November. Wales, though, they did offer some stuff in attack, and actually Patchell did well. I thought Bigger did well in attack when he came off the bench as well. Problem is, Wales haven't got the skills in New Zealand.
Talk about
the attacks break down too often.
Talk about the Southern Hemisphere. Wales missed 26 tackles against France.
Yeah,
so it's been a recurring theme. We saw it in the warm-up games as well, and that's that period of defensive control and coaching is over, and we now move into a new set.
At least people won't be saying during the Six Nations when Wayne Phillips in charge, they should have kept Sean Edwards on as defence coach, because it can't get much worse than this.
I don't think anyone's going to be thinking that.
Bombshell.
But then going on to Wayne Pivac, what changes to the playing style do we expect? Because the Wales and Gatland has been pragmatic, and there's a school of fans in Wales who haven't always taken to that.
And that attack today, I thought was good. When they did attack, if you look back at the South Africa game, the phrase that was used more than anyone was the arm wrestle. And Wales had lost; they got dragged into it, and that's the last thing you want to do is against South Africa, and they lost the arm wrestle. There was a point around the half-hour mark, a bit earlier in the 20 minutes about that. You feared the same thing was going to happen because Wales were camped in the New Zealand line as they'd been against South Africa in that pivotal period, and they were going through the same thing, the pick and goes, one-up carries, and they weren't really getting anywhere. They were going backwards, and you thought, they haven't learned anything. But in fairness, they then showed that there was a plan B. The ball went loose, and then the two halfbacks thought on their feet. Quick feed from Thomas Williams to Rhys Patchell, who then threw one of the passes of the World Cup from him. It was a lovely cutout. The ball beat the defender in the flight, put Hallam Amos in a hole, and a nice finish for him. Yep. So dummying him over, and I was pleased for Hallam, because you wouldn't want his only memory of the World Cup to have been his unfortunate display against Uruguay, and he showed he can finish, and he had a decent game. And I thought Wales varied it quite well. The second try as well, the few pick and goes. Then they started going from the narrower channels to the wider ones. A couple of missed passes, inside balls, and then a predatory finish from close range from Adams. They showed attacking acumen out there today, and I think that's something to build on now.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, Wayne Pivac is intent on playing more attacking rugby. He wants to build on the good things of the Gatland era, and defence was one of them until this tournament. So they need to build that, reset the foundations for that. But he definitely wants to improve Wales as an attacking force. And when you look at Wales's record against the Southern Hemisphere during the Gatland reign, the defence hasn't been great against them. So Pivac is looking on in stopping the Southern Hemisphere, scoring so many tries against Wales. But definitely the focus is going to be on more attractive rugby, the Welsh way, letting the ball do the work, and testing teams and trying to win matches rather than against South Africa in our semi-final, when it appeared to me Wales, of course they want to win the match, but they were doing their best not to lose it.
I mean, if you look at the people who really stood up in attack today, the halfbacks, Thomas Williams and Patchell, in particular Adams, we'll talk about him a bit more. I mean, he was excellent, but also the dual open side option worked well, I thought. He was able to play a wider game. Tipuric got his hands on the ball a lot, so did James Davis, and they made ground. They did well. Will we perhaps see Wales go for the dual open side option in the Six Nations, because we've produced so many sevens? The temptation is to try and do that.
Why not? Wales.
Which two would you go for? Those two?
Oh, I don't know. You have to think about it a bit more. It's a bit nearer, isn't it? You could play him well. Ellis Jenkins is a great player of mine, future Wales captain, if he can get back to fitness and form. He's a warrior, the type you need in your team. Where Wales have got a problem going forward, and they've got to unearth it, solve it, is centres. Jonathan Davis, he's 31, I believe. Hadley Parks is old. Owen Watkins, question marks over his pace for international rugby. Where are we going to find centres from?
Do you find him from New Zealand in the shape of Wallace Halaholo?
Well, he's certainly really exciting going forward. The sort of bloke you want going forward. Defensively, his defence,
he's better on one side of the ball than the other, put it this way. But he's got great feet, and he's a threat.
Having said that,
consistency is the issue.
It's like All Blacks, isn't it? When they play, Bowden Barrett is a better defender for the All Blacks than he was for the Hurricanes. When you play in international rugby, you have a lot more determination, I would suggest, tackling, than perhaps you would at a lower level.
We've touched as well, of course, on the whole 10-12 thing, whether you would look to maybe utilise Patchell as a 12 or utilise Jared Evans as a 12 or bring Owen Williams if he's fit back into it. So there's lots of things for Pivac to consider.
What about Joe Thomas at Leicester? Let's see how he goes, because if he goes well, he could come into the frame surely.
Yeah, I hope he goes well. I hope he's successful. And Ben Thomas is coming through at Cardiff.
So Ben Thomas has got a stamp to play international rugby as well.
I mean, the thing is, at the moment, Ben Thomas this weekend, tonight, is playing for Cardiff club side. So he's got to make that move into the Blues first of all, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on. So Mark asks, countless All Blacks are being moved on after this match. That sounds like they're sort of being herded away, but I think it's more their choice. Should Wales adopt the same policy, build for the next 4 to 8 years and maybe say goodbye to a few sort of senior names?
We can't, because we haven't got the depth of the All Blacks. We have rugby in New Zealand. That's our problem. Their production line is massive, isn't it? Schools rugby over there, they got 19 teams, haven't they, playing like under 16s. One school puts up like 19 teams. It's incredible, their numbers. So they got players coming through. We can't afford to lose some of the senior Wales players, the older ones now, because Wales will be on hiding to nothing. We haven't got the depth, then we'd be exposed, and then Pivac is in an awkward situation, and he's got to get results, hasn't he?
It was interesting, if you look back to the last World Cup, sort of after that, there were a couple of people who gradually phased out. I remember we talked about an exit strategy for Gethin Jenkins, and you saw Rob Evans come through, you saw Nicky Smith come through. Now, in terms of age, Alan Wynn's around the age that Gethin was at that point, but we know Alan Wynn has got another 18 months, I think it is, or 2 years contract.
So,
he's going to keep going through, and you wouldn't want, if he's willing to play for you, you keep him in the setup because he's so important in every sense. Ken Owens was asked after the game today whether he saw himself going through another World Cup cycle. So was Justin Tipperick, who are both in their 30s now. It's difficult for them to answer in the immediate aftermath of the tournament. But I think what you will see is gradually, probably the youngsters who've been the understudies to these people gradually getting perhaps a bit more game time.
Well, you would hope. Would hope the youngsters force the old people out, wouldn't it?
I suppose that's where
that's the way of the world, isn't it?
That's where this squad is in a good place, isn't it? That there is a lot of youngsters coming through that Gatland's brought through in the last 2 years. Maybe Japan was too soon for some of them, but now you had
a great start at Elliot D, didn't you?
Yeah, he set a world record today. For the first player in the history of Test rugby to play 19 tests in a year.
Calendar year.
Yeah, well, calendar year from in 2019, starting from January the 1st.
Elliot D now was the same number of caps as Phil Bennett. Just shows, doesn't it? Phil did that over 10 years. Elliot's done it how many, 3-4 years? The amount of games you play now. But I mean, if you look at people like Elliot D, he's served an understudy, he's served an apprenticeship there. There's other people doing it. Adam Beard has now got a number of games. You've got quite a few players under 25 who have had a few games now.
Well, look at Elliot D today. He came on and made a big impression because he's really good with the ball and his hands. He's one of the Welsh players who's got the skills.
Yeah. Tell you what, Enver's asked a question. It involves hooking, so we'll go on to that. Is there a hooker and a tight head of Rhys Carey stature eligible for Wales? Obviously, Rhys Carey's come and made a big impact with his size.
Well, I mean, in terms of size, there's one place was Sale in the shape of Will Griff-John, who was actually, I think from the Rhondda originally, and was on the books of Cardiff Blues at one point. Didn't really get many opportunities as youngsters. Gone into the English setup. I think he was at Rotherham or Doncaster, a club of that nature. He's gone to Sale, and he's a regular Gallagher Premiership starter. I would have thought that he's the kind of person that Pivot might want to have a look at because he has got genuine size and strong and scrimmaging power. In terms of big hookers coming through, but our colleague Mark Orders I think it's Dewey Lake. He's got size. He talked about him. Ryan Elias there's a hooker. Taylor Davis at the Scarlets has looked good coming through recently. I think we've got those players coming through.
Yeah, but do you need a big hooker though? Look at Dane Coles today. Look at Cody Taylor. They're not big. Jamie George is really not that big. He's quite wide, but he's not that big.
I think if you look at, it makes a broader point in it. What are the positions where we really need people to...
No, big ball carriers.
Big ball carrier, yeah.
Bulk
but
is the point.
I would say more work needs to be done at regional level on the scrummaging of these young props to improve them.
So would you look to have a scrum doctor at every team?
Yeah, or maybe Wales needs. Perhaps I don't know. Often Robin McBride used to do it, but of course he's been tied up with Wales for the last year because of the World Cup.
Now he's off.
Now he's off. Surely, WI, you need to employ a scrum doctor who is welcomed by the regions and goes around them at least once a week.
Who would you
get a job that Tony Faulkner used to do? Your old pal?
Tony Faulkner? Well, he's the sort of bloke you could have in part-time, couldn't you? What else his answer to Mike Crone?
Probably slightly younger, but
Yeah, Adam Jones.
What was Adam's feature at Halliwins? How long is he going to be there for? Is he someone Wales could look to target? Is he, not many people know more. Gethin obviously is now coaching with the Blues. He's doing more of the defensive side of things. So
Adam is part of the reason on the scrummaging side. It's Carl Sinclair. His scrummage has improved tenfold.
I think him and John Humphreys have obviously got a good relationship.
Yeah,
he's been coached by him, so that's a nice.
Humphreys could do the role we talk about.
I mean, you've got someone like Leon Brown who was in the original squad. Didn't go to the World Cup. Are these players going to come through? And could Leon?
Well, he's in one of his workers, doesn't he? Which he admits himself. He's work in progress. Same as Dylan Lewis. He's still work in progress. They need someone to really work with them on the scrummaging side to improve.
I think Dylan's improved, hasn't he, over this year? He's got better. His contribution on the loose was excellent today.
But I've heard comments from Carey before the World Cup, and it seems to me that they get a lot more scrummaging coaching with Wales than they did with their region.
Comes back to your original point, I suppose, doesn't it?
There we go. So Alun Jones came off after 55 minutes, a lovely standing ovation. He's one of 6 players nominated for World Player of the Year. Do you think he'll win? I think that's announced Sunday night, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting. The final could well have a bearing on it because you've got Peter Steph Dutoit and Cheslin Colby
and
Tom Curry. And in a way, Curry wears. It's a bit of a confusing one. We said to the viewers, that South Africa wears 6 and 7, the other way round, and then Curry could play 6 or 7. But essentially, they're 2 very, very fine back row players. I think personally, whoever comes out the top in that back row battle, unless Colby has a real supercharged X Factor performance, which he can do with his feet. He's capable of doing it. But I think it'll be whoever comes out on top from Dutoit and Curry. I think playing in the World Cup final just gives you that chance to get over the finishing line for this award.
It depends what it's based on, though. Is it based on the World Cup, or is it based? It's supposed to be based on the entire year. And if you go on a year, it should be Dutoit, because he was superb in a rugby championship. Where did England finish in the Six Nations? Third or something like that. So though Curry's been an excellent player, you've got to take that into account. So I think I've had a brilliant year.
If I were voting now, I'd say Pieter-Steph du Toit.
Yeah. Any notable exclusions from that?
Well, it's interesting that the American hooker was in there.
Yeah.
I mean, and in fairness, I read a fair up about players to watch out for, and he was getting very good reviews. And he plays his rugby in England, I think, doesn't he? And he's done well. But I mean, when you see him in there, and there's no Owen Farrell, and there's no Atoje.
The big one, isn't
I mean, Maro Atoje, he's outstanding World Cup on the back of a solid year. He was excellent in the warm up. Surprised he's not in there.
England. Just like what I just said about the way they finish the Six Nations, key man for England every time he plays. Saracens, European and English champions, and who's a big part of that? Mario Itoje. Amazing he's not in there.
So they're going to win tomorrow, Andrew?
Well, they've got to be favourites, but as I keep saying on this show, I've been tipping South Africa all along, so I'm sticking with them.
Occasionally you have.
Did you know he backed South Africa? I don't think he's ever mentioned it, is it?
Well, he mentions it when they're doing well.
What about who are you tipping then for the final?
England will win. I think they will win. If you look at the things that South Africa stressed Wales with, in particular was Dutoit's work at the breakdown. Wales couldn't handle him. He was a one-man ruck wrecker, counter-rucked us off the ball, slowed our ball down, and he was decisive in the end result. I just think England have got the people to deal with him physically, in terms of the likes of Atoje and Curry. I mean, you've got Underhill as well, as was such a fine tournament. I think their defence will be stronger than Wales's was. Underhill leads the way in that front as well, and Farrell and Tuilagi, big physical men in midfield, and I also think that their line out is superior. So all the things that South Africa have as strengths, I think England can deal with. I think England's attacking game is at a better level.
Well, but the bench of South Africa, I would maintain, still got a better bench than England. And they've got massive forwards, and they've got an absolutely stunning record against Wales. Against England, I won 13 in their last 17 matches and drawn one.
Good start. I think England can have a nice buffer by an hour when the big boys come on. But their bench isn't that bad. Mark Wilson came on against New Zealand when New Zealand was stressing England for one period. Magnificent win over the ball. If you look at the props they've got to come on, the fact that Ellis Genge isn't even on the bench says it all. They've got Marler coming on, Cohen Dickey's made a big impact.
It's a final, mind. It may not be pretty, because there's every possibility that they could cancel each other out. They could cancel each other out, and if they do, that plays into South Africa's hands.
England have got to counter Dutoit. They've got to counter the constant physicality of a team that's got 6 forwards on the bench, and they've got to find a way of containing Damien Deolande, because he's been a real threat to every side he's played.
And what about Yeah, and what about Faf de Klerk?
Got to stop him faffing about.
He's the heartbeat of the South Africa side.
Well, have you seen this week they've had a South African player in imitating Faf? Yeah. We hear he's even had the blonde wig on to make them recognise him. So I think that all these English players, they will know Faf inside out from having played against him for Sale. They'll know exactly what makes him tick and how to get under his skin and how to reduce his impact.
Yeah, but he's good again under the opposition's skin.
I would imagine he's very much like you would have been as a scrum half.
Exactly like you would a scrum half. 2 quick fire questions then. First one, Gavin asks, how tall should Gatland's statue be? Silence.
He has done well. He's 4 Six Nations titles, 2 World Cup semi-finals. Can't argue with that, though I would say that Wales should have actually won a couple more Six Nations titles on his watch. Didn't, because they didn't score enough points in games, so which goes back to the whole thing about creativity. World Cup 2011 by chance. That no one expected before the tournament. Wales got the semi-final, and if it wasn't for those unfortunate things in that semi, Warburton getting sent off and Anne Jones getting injured, Wales might have got the final. And do you know what? I think they would have beaten the All Blacks on that occasion. The All Blacks were spent on their feet by the time they got the final.
I said quickfire.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Right. And this World Cup, I would say it's a missed opportunity that we didn't try and weren't creative enough against South Africa on enough occasions.
Gatland took over in 2007. At the end of 2007, Wales were at their lowest ebb. Just bombed out of the World Cup to Fiji. He's turned Wales into a credible, consistently competitive side who win win big games, win 3 Grand Slams. He's restored a real pride to Welsh rugby, and he's a hard act to follow, and we should be grateful to him.
Yep.
And good luck to him in his future endeavours.
That was a blip line in 2007 because Wales already had a good squad there with Mike Ruddock. They won the Grand Slam in 2005, and because all that fell apart, Cas Jenkins as coach really didn't have a chance because he didn't have all the players on side. So I think the ingredients there for someone to grab hold of them and do really well, which Gatland did immediately.
Okay,
Gatland has got a fantastic record throughout his coaching career, really. Wherever he's a winner.
Well, Gavin, I hope you got the receipt for that statue. One final question, quickfire. Wales' World Cup campaign is now over. Sum up the last 7 weeks for Wales in one sentence.
I think it's been frustrating because you didn't quite see the Wales you saw at the Grand Slam. A large part of that, I think, was down to the losses in personnel, but they didn't quite function. The defence, as we've said, didn't function. Attack was good at times, then when it really mattered against Africa, it didn't quite have the edge. But I feel, in a way, even more than 2011, it was possibly one that got away, because with New Zealand having gone out in the semi-final, I think a fully fit, fully personnel, fully charged Welsh team could have beaten England as they did in the Six Nations, and it'll always be a case of what if we could only have that team on the pitch.
I think there was enough linking words and conjunctions to make that one sentence, but I think it's going to be one word for you now.
So near yet so far.
Well done.
There we go. That's it for today's Gain Line. I think we'll be back again same time tomorrow to recap the World Cup final, but for all the reaction to Warren Gatland's last game, you can catch it all on Wales Online.